Stuart Kavanagh, and welcome to the After Extra Time podcast, where we talk about the big news, the big names, and the big games in the English Premier League. As per usual, I'm joined by journalist, Manchester United fan, editor-in-chief of thesportsbag.net, author of Transatlantic Passage, How the Premier League Redefined Soccer in America, and the co-host of this very podcast, Mr. Paul M. Banks. How are you going, Paul?
Doing good, man. I'm using winter as a chance to TNT, I think it was, or a cable channel here, re-aired every Star Wars movie ever, and at my own leisure, I'm kind of going through them. Sometimes I kind of have them on as background noise if it's a movie I've seen a lot. Some of the newer ones I've only seen once. I'm kind of going through it, and it's been fun pointing out like some of the plot holes and everything.
So I'm very curious, mate. Are you watching in chronological order or are you watching in timeline order?
I am watching in timeline order, and that's always fun to tell people how the first one is the fourth one, or number one is part 4. But I just have to lay straight into it. I can't get over how Force Awakens I thought was decent, but that's just basically a remake of the Return of the Jedi and A New Hope. Last Jedi was good. I thought that was kind of like Empire Strikes Back, which a lot of people think is the best movie ever in the entire franchise, and I can see that. Rise of Skywalker is just a pile of disjointed, illogical garbage. My God.
Okay, so I do actually have a story about this. Me and my girlfriend, we were very excited for Rise of Skywalker. We did this full Star Wars marathon, much like you're doing yourself. We even chucked in Rogue One and the Han Solo movie, the name of which escapes me at the moment. And
Solo.
Solo, that's
that
right.
Is the name. It's just Solo.
Duh, of course. So we watched all these movies. We were so pumped up. And then we went release day to go and watch it. And honestly, never been so let down in the cinema before in my life.
2 things for me in that one. Number one, to find out that, and spoiler alert, well, whatever, who cares? You know what? If you're listening to this, you've had years to see these movies, so we'll just spoil them. Rey being Palpatine's granddaughter, and I'm like, oh, well then who did Emperor / Senator Palpatine / Darth Sidious, like, who did he have sex with? And they don't explain that, and then I read reviews of it and I'm like, wait, this was some kind of weird dark side immaculate conception thing, and I'm like, you're the Emperor, how do you not get laid?
Yeah, honestly, Palpatine, what a hideous man. It does not surprise me he had to resort to some kind of dark side, immaculate conception, emperor or not. He's having a hard time getting laid.
And then the other part was, how are they building all these giant star destroyers in this fleet? I know it's like this remote reach of the galaxy, but you need engineers, you need contractors, you need suppliers, you need workers, you need pilots, you need navigators. All these people are going out in the middle of nowhere. No one leaked that all this stuff is being built. Come on, man.
Some massive plot holes there, man. Absolutely. If I could just hook a little right here into a cinema going experience that I had myself this week. I'm not sure. Are you a Marvel MCU fan, Paul?
I am not. No.
Okay, so
please feel free to educate me.
So this is going to go straight over your head, and I'm going to be very careful not to elicit any spoilers here. But I went and saw Spiderman: No Way Home, and in the theaters this week. I got to tell you, I know you're not an MCU fan, Paul, but if you're a Spider-Man fan, if there's any MCU fans out there listening to this and you're not motivated to go and see it, I've got to tell you, do yourself a favor. Get out there, get to the theaters, be COVID safe, but get to the theaters and watch this movie. It is fantastic. You ready to move on to some football?
Yeah, I mean, the force has not been strong with the Premier League lately, but
Lovely segue, mate. That is perfect. We're not even going to use the sound effect this week. Let's just use that segue to dive straight into winners and losers. I'm going to jump in with my winner first. So my winner this week is Tottenham Hotspur. Now, anyone who reads anything I write on the sportsbank.net or listens to this podcast know that I've just taken a shovel, gone to the manure pile, and just heaped shit on Tottenham this year. Just kept piling it up, piling it up, piling it up, piling it up. I got to tell you, they're my winners this week. They returned from their COVID isolation period. They were the first club in the Premier League to be really hit hard by it. They came up against Liverpool, who, you know, all bias aside, I think everyone can agree that they're one of the title contenders this year. And they picked up a massive point in an absolute cracker of a fixture. And I just thought that was fantastic. And they followed it up this morning, tonight, this afternoon, wherever you're listening from, with a victory over West Ham, who have been a personal favourite of mine this year in the League Cup, that sees them into the semi-final. It does seem like they've turned a big corner, and Antonio Conte is finally getting a tune out of his Chargers over there in North London.
Well, you gotta love a comeback story. You gotta love a talk about Left for Dead, total mess. Nuno, I've had some text conversations with Will, a member of the team here at the Sports Bank, our Liverpool writer, about how they, we were on the day that they got eliminated from the Conference League, and he said that was their best chance at a trophy, and I said, well, were they really playing that way? Were they approaching it? And he said, yeah, they had Harry Kane all the time in the lineup, and I was like, okay, that's true. And we're saying like Nuno, I don't think he knew what his first team was. And that's kind of what he was saying, like Nuno's a mess, but that's where the change has been made. Conte seems to have an eye for organization, structure, tactics, formation, talent, identifying talent. And he's just such a big improvement. And I think that's where it shows.
Yeah, absolutely. He's a serial winner. A lot is made about Spurs trophy drought, which isn't as bad as some of the trophy droughts in the Premier League, but I guess they see themselves as a big club. Their last trophy was under One-Day Ramos in the early 2000s when they won the League Cup. I think they're a good shout to depending on how seriously Chelsea and Liverpool take these semi-finals and the subsequent final in the League Cup. I think they are a good shout to perhaps win the League Cup. I've got to tell you, I'm a Liverpool fan. I love seeing Liverpool play at Wembley and pick up a trophy. But geez, wouldn't it be good if Arsenal and Spurs played each other in a League Cup final? I think the level that those two teams are at the moment, that would just be massive, and the fans would be right into that one. Let's move on to your loser poll. Why don't you lay it on us?
I'm going with Chelsea, and Thomas Tuchel has been very outspoken that at first he said he was going to leave it up to Marina Granovskaya and Pete. I hope I pronounced it Marina Granovskaya. Did I pronounce it correctly?
I have no idea, but I just like the sound of it. Yep.
I know it does. It sounds like, that has got to be like a James Bond villain. Granovskaya. Man, did we get off on a tangent there? Wow. Yeah, like Marina Granovskaya and Peter Cech were like, you left it up to them about trying to get these things canceled. And then as it rolled on, as the COVID crisis deepened, you'd say, yeah, we did as a club try to get this postponed, or he himself has lobbied for it. And who can blame him? You're shorthanded, and they go to Wolves. It's a goalless draw, and it's not going to be long until we're talking about a 2-horse title race, because is it fair? Maybe not. At the same time, everyone's got to deal with it. But even when they've spent money, they've built a big roster. COVID isn't scoring goals against them.
I'm going to be honest with you, man. I think you're absolutely spot on about the 2-horse title race. And, Liverpool are just an injury away from being bundled out of that title race too. I do think Chelsea, I don't love to hate them. I hate them. You love to hate them. Chelsea,
yes.
I
big,
do.
Big difference. I do love to hate them.
I do think Chelsea are a little bit hard done by. I know Jurgen Klopp was also saying about how it didn't matter how many players they had out with COVID because they could still field a competitive team. I don't think that's fair. I think it's a bit out of hand for Jurgen Klopp to be speaking on, what Chelsea's best team is and the state of their roster or whatever. So a bit out of character for me, but I 100% I do feel a little bit bad for Chelsea because they were just they were looking like a juggernaut, an unstoppable force. And this COVID thing has really hit them, and they've kind of stumbled out of the way. But they've definitely been hard done by with the whole COVID situation in the UK.
Yeah, I'd say originally it seemed like Spurs were the biggest loser from the COVID crisis, but they've rebounded. And I'd say at this point, Chelsea are the one being hit harder.
On the topic of COVID, Paul, why don't you go ahead and give the listeners your winner for this week?
I would say it's the league and the TV partners. They got what they wanted. They've continued to stage the competitions. There have been calls by Tuchel, Thomas Frank of Brentford. I think Jordan Henderson was gonna say something or had said something. I think other guys are speaking out. They don't care. They're just gonna, and I think that's on brand for them. I think that's true to character because when other leagues are less hard line about international breaks and getting guys back, sometimes they fly completely across the world, halfway across the world. They got the weird time zones and stuff. They don't get back in time. The Premier League does not care. They keep playing. They've decided they're going to have this festive period fixture congestion, and that's what they're doing. They don't really seem to. They're like, the show must go on.
But I just want to comment on your winner here about the league and the TV partners being the big winners. I feel like Amazon has a bit of a say in that. In the UK, Prime Video has the exclusive rights to the Boxing Day and New Year's Day/Eve fixtures that week anyway, where there's a whole stack of games. And I feel like they stumped up a pretty penny for that, and they don't want...
Can't strangle the golden goose, can you?
Yeah, absolutely right. My loser for this week is the players and staff who are being forced to play on despite the looming threat of COVID. This Omicron variant is just running wild throughout planet Earth at the moment. It seems it's particularly bad in the UK. The United States is having a bit of a tough time of it as well. There's a load of cases over here in Australia too, and it's kind of regardless of if you're a professional footballer or if you're a factory worker or if you're a journalist or if you're a mechanic or if you work in retail, no one should be forced to put their health at risk by going into risky situations with COVID around the place. So I think that the players and the staff that are being forced to play on despite the looming threat of COVID are the big losers this week.
I mean, there is a school of thought that asymptomatic people who test positive should go on with their lives and go on with their job and go on and play. But I think that's dangerous ground. And I think that maybe as a society, we may get there once we've accepted this as endemic, if that's how it's going to be. But then again, the Spanish flu is never endemic. That got wiped out. So that's another discussion for another time. I think that's really a dangerous precedent because while you may be okay, you'll come in contact with people who won't be okay that you could give it to.
This is forefront of my mind, and we won't go too much in the weeds here, but I've got family that are a bit older, and got family that's a bit younger, and they're the most vulnerable people. And I'd hate to be the one who is asymptomatic and doing fine but carrying the virus, and I'd hate to be the one to pass it on to a loved one or even a stranger for that matter. I'd hate to be responsible for that. So I think we just need people to jump on the vaccine train. We're about to hit the halfway mark of the 2021-22 season. Geez, what a mouthful that is. With game week 19 and the traditional Boxing Day fixtures, the best way to eat the rest of your Christmas ham is to sit in front of the TV, consuming as much Premier League as possible, mate. We kick things off with a pair of early kickoffs. Easy for me to say. First of all is Liverpool hosting Leeds United. How do you see this one going?
Should be a laugher. Like I've said, I think Leeds are going down. Whatever they had last year, they've been solved. They were a tough out, to be certain. Now, Liverpool are going to keep fighting as long as they can to stay in the title race. And I think they should cruise.
Yeah, I think it should be an easy win for the home team here. Next up is Wolverhampton taking on the Moosemen at Molineux, mate. How do you see that one going?
Moosemen, I love it. Well, kudos to the Midlands club for getting a point from a meeting with Chelsea. So I think they can kind of ride with that. Watford is just lucky to be back up here. So I'm gonna go with Wolverhampton Wanderers here.
Add that to the fact that they're the home team. I think they might even just eke out the entire 3 points there. Rolling straight on to the bit later kickoffs. I don't know the exact times. I haven't worked them out this week. Burnley, the Clarets, taking on Everton at Turf Moor. How do you see this one going?
Ooh, that one, I think the most tightly contested affair of the weekend. I think that's one you can kind of flip coins on. So I'm going to go with a draw, and I'm going to pick Sean Dyche's team for this one.
Yeah, I think Burnley and Everton will actually be a draw, personally, myself. If Rafa Benitez can get the Everton side out there that actually plays well, then maybe they can sneak a win. But that team hasn't really shown up lately, so I think it will be a bore draw, if I may. Next up, Manchester City taking on Leicester City. This is one of our focus games. I don't know if you saw this morning, Paul, but Leicester City were 3-1 up in the Carabao Cup against a very youthful Liverpool side. Jamie Vardy had put them 2 up inside the first 15 minutes. It looked like it was going to be Leicester all day, and Diogo Jota came on and got a second goal, and then Takumi Minamino with a goal in the 95th minute to send it to penalties, and the Liverpool went on and knocked him out of the League Cup. So Leicester are a wounded animal here, and they have to travel to the Etihad to take on Manchester City. How do you see this one going?
I stopped paying attention when I saw it was 2-0 early on. I thought it was a joke. The other Liverpool fans in my life, because I'm just so blessed this holiday season to have more than one Liverpool fan in my life. Being sarcastic, of course. No, they're just kind of like, man, what happened to Leicester? And I'm like, are you serious? They're going to bounce back sometime. I just have a feeling here, but not a strong enough feeling. I almost want to pick a score draw, but I have zero faith in what's happened this year with Brendan Rodgers. What is his problem? What's going on?
Yeah, something isn't right there. I've got to say, Leicester this year, they've been probably about where you'd expect them to be, prior to Brendan Rodgers' arrival. And this year, it's just been like a plane just crashing a little bit. And every time he kind of gets the nose up, they hit a bit of turbulence, and then they start diving down again. I don't know what is wrong there with the Northern Irishman at Leicester City, but they're definitely going to hit some turbulence at the Etihad, and Manchester City are probably going to score a hat full of goals. I hope they don't. I hope Brendan Rodgers and Leicester can do Liverpool a bit of a favour, but I just have zero faith, much like yourself, Paul, in them doing that. So that's a Manchester City win for mine, mate. Next up, we have Norwich taking on Resurgent Arsenal. I've been super impressed with Arsenal. I don't know what's in the water in North London at the moment, but Arsenal and Tottenham have really got their shit together.
Maybe Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang was holding Arsenal back at some point. I mean, there had always, before all the controversy, before all his trouble, there was always this belief that he was overpriced, overpaid, overhyped, and even when they got him from Borussia Dortmund, he was on the wrong side of 30, or he was getting on the wrong side of 30. I'm not certain his exact age. So now that he's been stripped of the captaincy, looks like he's out the door come New Year. Maybe it's like a new beginning. And as you always write in your previews on that lovely site called the sportsbank.net that I've heard some things about. The new Arsenal rider, I've heard good things about him. He seems to be kind of up and coming. And in those Arsenal previews, there's always a lot about the youthful resurgence, the rebuild, and maybe that's it. Maybe that is the fact that they're playing the younger guys, and Arteta finally got his way of his systems and his tactics, his ideas, and then maybe that's it. Maybe some new blood. I believe Lacazette is wearing the captain's armband now, and maybe I don't see anything changing. I feel some positive momentum going for the Gunners here.
Absolutely. I'm going to say this might be a bit of a hot take. I think Arsenal have the best batch of young players coming through in England at the moment, English youngsters specifically. I'll just quickly run through them. You got Aaron Ramsdale, Ben White, Emil Smith-Rowe, Bukayo Saka, and then there's Charlie Patino, who made his debut and scored actually in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. And that's just the English youngsters. I mean, Martin Odegaard is he's not as young as the other people I've mentioned, but he's still young. He's mid 20s, so he's getting around. Gabriel Martinelli is going to be the next big thing in the Premier League. Once they start playing him centrally, he's going to start scoring goals for fun. Sambi Lokonga has been great this year. He's just a bit unlucky to fall out of the side just as Granit Xhaka is coming back. And, friend of the pod, Hector, he must be very happy. My, have things changed since he appeared on the podcast last time. So that's incredible. And I concur. Arsenal will win for sure. Next up, we have Tottenham Hotspur, another side on the uptick a little bit here, taking on Crystal Palace. I think Spurs will probably win this one. I think Palace will put in a spirited effort, but I think just the talent levels there will dictate where the 3 points go.
Yeah, who knew? I mean, it was only this April when all the talk about the European Super League and the breakaway and how the two North London teams were the runts of the litter, the butts of the joke, and now both seem to be hitting their stride. I mean, I wouldn't pick against either one right now, so I'm going with Spurs.
So we go from north to east, and West Ham United, who are just floundering. I'm not sure if it's the fixture congestion or if it's the pressure of being a legitimate top four contender. I think the defensive injury crisis is probably playing a big part in their downturn in form. They'll be hoping to get things back on track at the Olympic Stadium when they host Southampton.
Shout out to Southampton Media Relations for sending me a Christmas card. I don't really have a lot of faith in Liverpool's farm system team to pull out a win here, but then again, everything you've said at the top here in introing this game is spot on. I think with the Hammers, I believe in the law of parsimony. I think the defensive crisis, I think simply put, is just, they like to do a lot of what they do starting out from the back, and they just can't right now. So I don't know. I'm gonna go with a draw.
I actually think West Ham will win, but I'd like to just rewind things a bit here. I like to think of myself as a bit of a wordsmith, and I know most words going around, Paul. But what was that you just said? The law of what?
The law of parsimony, or to be parsimonious, and that is all things being considered equal, the simplest explanation is the best.
Okay, mate. Next up, it's Steven Gerrard's Aston Villa taking on Chelsea, who are having a bit of a blip in form. I guess if there was an opportunity for a side like Villa to steal 3 points off of off of Chelsea. Now would be the time.
I was going to pick that even before you said all that, because I just see Chelsea in crisis. We love Captain America here. We love Christian Pulisic, but he is not a true center forward. He also, as a false nine, I don't know. That's like kind of like Eden Hazard. Was he a false nine? Not really. I just don't think it's going to work. I think they just, we've always talked about how much money they spent to build a roster, but they're too shorthanded. And I like what Stevie G is doing with the villains, and I'm taking them.
Yeah, I think they might steal a point. Now, the League Cup fixtures were on this morning, this afternoon, tonight, wherever you're situated. And Chelsea actually knocked off Brentford 2-0, unfortunately for our team, the Bees. But the reason I bring it up is here's some of the names that were taking part. Now, I'm not across Chelsea as much as perhaps I should be, but I don't know if this is due to COVID or if it's because it's the League Cup and this is the traditional competition where young players get blooded. But there's a player called Harvey Vale, Jude Soonsup Bell, Lewis Hall, Kepper played, Saul from Saul played. The
Saul, the dude from Atletico.
Yeah. So he's probably close to, along with Nikola Vlasic, probably close to being the flop signing of the season. So there's just there's a lot of players who played who you wouldn't usually expect to get a run. So this is all to say, I think Aston Villa will at least steal a point here. It'd be great. I know Stevie G, big Chelsea. Not big Chelsea fan at all, big Chelsea rival, almost signed for Chelsea. Then a little thing of Istanbul happened and he didn't. So I know he'd love to get the 3 points over Chelsea here. Let's move on to
just those names you said. You could make up complete names that you could make up totally fake names, and I believe you because I'd be like, those can't be real players.
Moving on to the second and last fixture. It's at the Amex. It's the Seagulls, Brighton and Hove Albion taking on the Bees, Paul, of Brentford. This is the battle of the hipsters' favourite managers because you've got Graham Potter of Brighton and Hove Albion and Thomas Frank of Brentford going up against each other. I think that Thomas Frank might come out on top here and Brentford will secure the 3 points.
I also think it's a hipster club matchup, and that
absolutely,
that's where we're at now. If you're a hipster and you want to pick a Premier League team, you're picking one of these guys, the little guys.
How do you see this one finishing up, mate?
I'm gonna go with the Bees. I think now that they're bounced from the Carabao Cup, they're gonna be just intently focused on the league.
Absolutely. And we got to keep on their good side just in case this podcast becomes profitable enough that we can slap the logo and become the shirt sponsor of the Bees because there's no bee leavers bigger than us. Finally, at St. James's Park. Now, in previous seasons, in a different life almost, it seems, this would be a massive matchup. But unfortunately, I just don't see it that way. I see this one as a very lopsided matchup. Of course, I'm talking about Newcastle United hosting Manchester United. Now, when the takeover happened, I think we had Rick on the show, and we were having a big laugh about wouldn't it be funny if Newcastle got relegated after their big $1 billion takeover. That's gone from a joke to just being something that I see as a foregone conclusion. Manchester United still kind of finding their feet under Ralph Rangnick. Regardless of that, I think even Manchester United under Solskjaer in the final weeks of his stint as manager would beat Newcastle here and beat them quite comfortably. Paul?
The reverse fixture was 4-1 United. That was the Ronaldo game. It was the Ronaldo return game, and I don't see why this is going to be any different. Maybe it won't be as lopsided. Maybe it'll be a 2-0 or a 3-1.
All right, Paul, as usual, it has been an absolute pleasure. Have you got anything you'd like to let the folks at home know about, or anything going on, anything you'd like to plug? This is the moment, mate. Let them know.
I would like to plug the spirit of Christmas. I think people are going to really enjoy the cover photo we have for this episode. Christmas is going to be extra special for me this year, just to have, just another person to spend time with that I normally wouldn't. And, maybe that'll offset the people that I'm going to miss at Christmas and not see this time, who are still with us, but won't be able to make it. And I would just say that it's going to be challenging for all of us. There's going to be issues with travel and logistics, and it's not going to be the Christmas that we had maybe hoped for last year when we had a much altered Christmas with less people together. So let's just try to make the best of it and do the best we can. I've really been into the season this year, and I've enjoyed that.
I'd like to wish a Merry Christmas to all my loved ones that I can be with, and all the loved ones that I can't be with. You know who you are. Plenty of Christmases to come that we will get to celebrate together. I'd also like to wish a Merry Christmas to all our listeners. Have a fantastic Christmas period. We'll be back next week. Don't worry about that. But I just want to make sure you have a good time. Enjoy your turkey and enjoy your ham. Enjoy your prawns, whatever your tradition is. And most of all, Paul, I'd love to wish you a Merry Christmas, my friend. I hope you have a fantastic Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. It's just everything you hope for.
Yeah, and Otis decided to meow for the first time on this episode. He just decided to meow now. I think he's getting into the Christmas spirit too.
Merry Christmas to Otis as well. But that's it for another episode of After Extra Time. Be sure to follow us at our Twitter account at AfterET_podcast. Be sure to get all your latest football news at thesportsbank.net. And last but not least, show the aforementioned third member of our pod, Otis, some love by following him at OtisGingerTabby on Instagram. Until next week, he's Paul M. Banks. I'm Stuart Kavanagh, and this has been After Extra Time.